All right, Buccaneers win a wild one, down double digits at one point, and the Colts were in scoring position. It was looking like they were about to run away with it. Definitely the story of this game is turnovers, mostly on Indianapolis' side, but also on the other side. Also, major shout out to Mike Edwards, who's an underrated player, makes a crucial tackle on that kickoff return that could have ended up as a touchdown if he didn't get his hand there. So, wild game. I want to talk about the Buccaneers offense and sort of what was going poorly early on and then kind of what they were able to fix later on. We've seen this a couple of times where they kind of come out slow and then, fight back but aren't able to quite get it done. The Saints game and the Washington football game were both instances of that. This time they do come back, and then, the Colts came back and tied it up, but Tampa Bay eventually gets the victory. Let's talk about first what went wrong early on and then what went right later on. So like right here, to talk about some miscues. There was some communication stuff. This one, given the angle, it looks like it was just a horrible throw, but it wasn't. It actually hit Mike Evans' arm. Evans just wasn't looking. Not exactly sure why. That was a 3rd down and 6, and had Evans made that catch, he probably gets the first down there, and they're able to, move the ball down the field. So that's a tough miscue, and that's one that you want to definitely be better at. This one's another one, just a small thing, but, this is kind of what the issue was early on. Really, it's just a throw kind of off. I'm not sure if Gronkowski was supposed to be a little bit further over or what, but again, just a little bit off. It's not 5 turnovers off, although one of, the Colts turnovers was a Hail Mary, but still, little bit off early on, but they definitely found their groove. However, again, stuff like this, where this is kind of an issue, but also what's interesting about it is you see that there definitely was a significant shift in what I would consider to be execution. They had certain plays that did not work early on, but then did work later on, and this is a great example where the way this works is, I believe this is quarters coverage that the Colts are in, and what Tampa Bay loves to do is kind of take advantage of the fact that teams don't really respect Scotty Miller perhaps the way they should. Granted, it's hard to pay him a bunch of attention when you have guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Even without Antonio Brown, there still is Rob Gronkowski, and on this play, it's even Cameron Brate who's going to get some extra attention because the reality is with Miller, he's mostly just a deep threat, but when he is running a deep route, he's as good as anybody in the league in terms of speed. Maybe not in terms of contested catches, but his speed is up there with anybody's. So the way this play is going to work is that basically the safety is not going to be paying attention to Miller, which means that you get a one-on-one matchup. Since you do have Brate running over the middle, safety is going to pay more attention to him. Watch how Brady's going to take the snap, and he's going to make this throw, and you see right here, okay, well, wait a second. This isn't what you want to have happen. Why is Scotty Miller so far behind the corner who he's, going up against? This is terrible. I thought Scotty Miller was super fast. What you couldn't see on this angle, but they did show on a different angle, was that when Scotty Miller was trying to get to his spot, he kind of ran into the Indianapolis player who's covering him, which sort of caused him to kind of just have, it took him a little longer to get where he had to go, which forced him to be further deep. It was good positioning by Isaiah Rodgers, that's the corner he's going up against, to not allow Miller to just run by him. He had to run through him and could not. So this one does end up getting intercepted. A lot of people would say what a dumb decision by Brady, but if you look at right when he threw the football, it actually wasn't a dumb decision because it was a one-on-one matchup to a great deep threat. That's what you want to do, and he even, really hit his spot, I would say. It's just that the contact, which was legal contact, it was a good play by Rodgers, is what created that turnover. I wouldn't really put that one on Brady. But now let's go over here. Let's talk about better execution in the second half, where what's going to happen with Tom Brady is that you see this is a very similar play. This time it's Gronkowski who's basically going to take the attention of the other safety, but it's a similar idea. The safety is not covering a deep route. You can get a one-on-one matchup with Scotty Miller, and that's what you want to have happen. And the reason why you have to kind of scheme this stuff up instead of just, sending someone deep every play is simply because teams are playing cover 2 against Tampa Bay. This is what teams have been consistently doing, really since I think the Saints have kind of exposed a little bit that is a hole in their offense. That's a way to take advantage of the fact that, they're not as good underneath. They're not as good with the running game. They're a team built for shots down the field, so do your best to take that away. But for Tampa Bay, don't just let them take it away. Still find ways to get your deep shots. That's what they're going to do here. Watch how on this one, it's literally the exact same thing early on, but now when Brady takes a shot, also plenty of time. Offensive line, even without, arguably their best offensive lineman in Ali Marpet, I probably would say he's their best offensive lineman. They're still, having a ton of success. But this time, you see that Miller, did not have the clunkiness that he had early on. He is now going to be open, and this is a play that can work. And you could argue that this doesn't work. Look, it is going to fall incomplete, but Rock Ya-Sin interfered with Miller. The crowd didn't like it, and even the commentators were saying they weren't sure about this one. To me, the angle showed it was obvious. He pulled his jersey. Those basically always get called. I think that that's a clear penalty, but I'm a Bucs fan. Maybe it's Homer glasses. I don't know, but I thought that was a clear penalty. And also just stuff like this. I mean, we have to talk about Rob Gronkowski, who is all the way back, I think. I mean, Rob Gronkowski, he legitimately looks like prime Rob Gronkowski. He had 7 catches for 123 yards in this game. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you see in 4 straight games when teams have primarily played cover 2, they've not been able to be as successful in all 4 of those except for the Giants game. But even the Giants game, their numbers didn't look as impressive. But I think there's not just a coincidence that the 2 that they won were the 2 where Gronkowski was playing, and the 2 they lost were when Gronkowski was still injured. When teams play cover 2, you need that third option, and Gronkowski is the third option behind, obviously Godwin and Evans take away the most attention. That allows Gronkowski to get the most open. On this play, you know what they're running. It's a cover 2 zone. The Colts don't really hide what they do too often, every now and then, but for the most part, they just run what they run. So Gronkowski is going to go into what appears to be an easy gap in this coverage. This stuff all makes sense. Look, Gronkowski, starts his route. He sits in that gap in coverage. Brady makes this throw, and it was, I'm pausing it right here. That was just open. That was just a really good play call by Tampa Bay. They're getting smarter and they're getting better about this stuff. The one thing that I think is fair to criticize Tampa Bay is sometimes they'll come in with these game plans that make you scratch your head and say, what in the world are you doing? The one thing you have to praise them for is they'll throw out dumb game plans and they'll realize when they're being stupid and do other stuff. We saw that in the playoff run where they basically created every single game plan around what did we screw up last time we played that team. So yeah, I mean, listen, big win. I know a lot of people are going to talk about the defense. We can talk about that for a second. The defense wasn't great, obviously. Part of that is just, I think the Colts are good, and I think that, Tampa Bay paid extra attention to Jonathan Taylor, so even though Taylor didn't necessarily have the stats that you might maybe expect from Taylor, the threat of Taylor was certainly still there and certainly still prevalent in this game, I would say. Although the flip side is that goes to my frustration with kind of this defense for a lot of it. They finally sort of towards the end were playing a little bit more cover 2, but for the most part, it was a lot of cover 3 zone, which I just don't understand. That's a coverage that's pretty good against the run, but not as good against, throwing the ball, specifically throwing the ball down the field, and it's why you saw so many open guys right over the middle is because it's easy to scheme that stuff up for the Colts. The Colts basically were able to do whatever they wanted in terms of the offensive game plan, and I know that the corners are hurt, and that obviously is a big deal, but you got to help them out then. You got to make things easier on them. Put an extra safety deep. You have a great run defense. Let that be the weakness of your team. Let them run the ball. And again, it's tough because if you do that, is your game plan really around, we'll just stop Jonathan Taylor? Because as we saw, they didn't once Tampa Bay finally did that. So it's a tough game plan. I would definitely say that this is a good win for the Colts, or a good loss for the Colts, a quality loss because you had so many turnovers and you still nearly won. There definitely was an element of flukiness, an element of luck that went in Tampa Bay's favor, in my opinion. And again, is it flukiness that Shaq Barrett gets off, the line quickly, is able to get a strip sack? It's not flukiness that he makes a good play, but it is a bit flukiness that Wentz happens to be in the throwing motion as that happens. That is a bit luck dependent. So you make your own luck for sure, but I thought that Tampa Bay got some bounces and they made the most of them, and that's a lot of what football is about. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.